Welcome to the Power of Music podcast, brought to you by JM International. Get ready to explore conversations with those making a difference through music.
Hello, and welcome everyone to the Power of Music podcast, brought to you by JMI, Jeunesse Musicale International, a global network of NGOs that empowers young people through music across all boundaries. In this episode, we'll be talking about the rhythm and the importance of drums and shakers, the rich history of Zimbabwean music and its cultural influence, the importance of authenticity, consistency, and relatability in building an artist brand that resonates, and we'll talk about how to find the right opportunities on your personal path. And of course, the power of music. My name is Ricardo, and today I'm joined by Walter Wanyanya. He's a music and technology entrepreneur based in Zimbabwe and director of Ngoma Nehosho, founder of multiple tech and music production firms, accomplished artist manager, founder and artistic director of the Jacaranda Music Festival and Jabulani Jazz Festival, both in Harare. As always, if you enjoy our content, don't forget to subscribe, like, and rate the podcast. We hope you enjoy the episode. Thank you so much for joining us today. Can you tell me first a bit about your journey into music?
My journey into music started off in the church. I would say that my mother took me to church, and obviously, like any churches, there's music. But the music that they used to play in the church that I initially went to had choral, was mostly like choral music, where you had a big choir, and then as you know, in Africa we've got drums. So it was a big choir, drums, and shakers. So more shakers. Mm-hmm. So that was it, and that was like very I would say that my first introduction to music before I got exposed to music as everybody does, radio music and that kind of thing. So church was very much a big part of my introduction to music. And as I got older, again, because of my mother, she's a very huge influence in my life. I then got introduced to another church which had a different way of doing music. They now had more than drums and shakers. They now had full instruments and a full band going on and that kind of thing. So that was when I actually was like, wow, I would love to pick up an instrument. I'd love to learn to play to play like what these guys on stage. And I think I must have been about 13 years old. And after that, I went into town, went to a music store, bought a how to play bass guitar book with a CD in it.
Nice.
Picked it up, listened to the CD, read the book, and yeah, that was how I picked up my guitar and I started playing. And then after that, I joined the band in the church. We were playing for children, so I was in a children's band, basically playing music for kids that are coming to literally Sunday school. And I played in that church for about 17 years. So I became the main bass player, did the touring thing, did the studio stuff, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's basically my introduction into music. And the rest was me then eventually evolving into the business of music, me becoming an artist manager, starting a company that has to do with events. We do festivals. We do 3 festivals in Zimbabwe. We manage a lot of artists in Zim and across the border in South Africa. And then this is where we're at today, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's a good story. So it all started in church.
All started in church.
Thanks to the mom. Thanks, mom.
Thanks, mom.
Shout out to all the mothers out there.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about maybe the music in Zimbabwe, specifically the rich history?
Yeah.
So you talked about this a bit before going on air about how rich it feels and that we shouldn't lose this. Maybe can you say a few things about that?
So I'm in Zimbabwe, like my introduction, like I said, I started off in the church and we just had drums and shakers. So my actual company, my music company is called Ngoma Nehosho, which literally means drums and shakers. So, and I think it's a lot of our music is rooted in that being that families, gatherings, weddings, funerals, we always have music. And if we're not going to have a band playing, we're going to sing by ourselves. And the one thing that you will find in most homes is a drum and a shaker. So any family can actually have a gig. So, and I think a lot of us are rooted in that rhythm of the drums and shakers. We're rooted in that traditional sound. A lot of our music is rooted amongst family gatherings. It's music is very much part of Zimbabwean life and very much part of African life in general. And as far as Zimbabwe is concerned, the next instrument you can't not talk about is obviously the mbira, and then marimbas and things like that. But the mbira is very, very, very much a part of Zimbabwean culture and a part of Zimbabwe's music heritage. And I think, when you think of the mbira, you think of the likes of Stella Chiweshe, Choniso, Thomas Mapfumo, and people like that who have music that has a strong presence with mbira influence in it. So Zimbabwean music is very rich, is very unique. The rhythms are, when you play a Zimbabwean song, when you play Zimbabwean music and you've experienced it before, you'll be able to tell that either this artist has listened to Zimbabwean music and they're trying to, obviously, they've had an influence of it, or the artist actually simply Zimbabwean. So it's very, very unique. And I'm sure you've also experienced it, yourself here. But it's something that we're really, really, really proud of.
It is something in the energy that just feels different.
Yeah. So I think, the energy that comes from the people is translated into then the music. And I think Zimbabwe has gone through a lot, and you can feel it in our music that we are actually a peaceful people. What we've gone through anywhere in the world, any other nation would have revolted. Any other nation would have had lots of uprisings, would have had all these kind of things. So it's one of those things where I'm saying that it's our music, our culture, who we are as a people kind of resonates, and you can hear it in our music. We're very much a peaceful people.
So from the peaceful energy that I can feel translated into the drums and shakers.
Yeah, man.
Into the family gathering.
Ngoma Nehosho, exactly. Yeah. We're one big family.
And can you tell me a bit about the work you're doing right now with the festivals, and also the importance of that for the music scene here and the culture itself?
So we have a festival that's actually coming up in the next 2 weeks. It's called Jacaranda Music Festival. Festival's been running for 6 years. So it came about after a long time of me working in the music scene, touring, working with, I was managing an artist called Oliver Mtukudzi, touring with him, and then seeing the need that we needed to have a platform, a stage that celebrates music, basically. So our tagline or our theme is permanently the music, the city, the people. So and Jacaranda Music Festival, I'm sure you've noticed that most of the trees around here are turning purple, which is the Jacaranda trees. And we happen to have the festival when those trees are in full bloom, which is in October, early September, early October time. So we aptly named it Jacaranda Music Festival because of that. But we really wanted a festival that kind of celebrated who we are as Zimbabweans. We invite obviously other people from all over the world to come and perform at the festival, but the celebration is a celebration of people, a celebration of life through music. Obviously, we do it over 3 days, so Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. So it's full days of music all throughout. This year we're actually having artists from as far as the States, Spain, and obviously South Africa, which is down next door. And then before that, the other aspect of the festival that I'm super excited about, which is possibly the most exciting part of the festival for me, is education. So we run 2 days of workshops or conference that run the 2 days before the festival, the main festival itself, before the performances. And these 2 days of workshops, we invite different people from all over the world that come and teach our artists about the business of music, about what they need to do to prepare, for the global world as far as music is concerned. The workshops that we do are not necessarily education as far as theory of music or anything any of that, because we're wanting the artists to present themselves as they are. So we're not teaching them how to be creative or how to play instruments or anything like that. We believe that they already are artists. They are just, and we also don't believe that they are upcoming. Either you're an artist or you're not. When do you actually graduate from being an upcoming artist to a fully fledged artist? So you're either an artist or you're not. You're just maybe not as famous as some of them. So we don't believe in trying to teach them how to be big artists in terms of how to play so that you are big. I don't know if that makes sense, but we try and teach them or educate them on how to then make their creativity profitable and how to run their business, which is what it is. A lot of artists are kind of don't have the balance between them being creatives and them being business people. And then you need to find that right balance, the fine line between those things. So how do you stay pure as an artist? How do you stay true to your art? How do you stay true to your identity, your heritage as a traditional or as an artist who knows what they want to say and express, and then also what the world is demanding from a pop perspective, from what pays, because you always hear, oh, this is what pays and this is what is trending right now. I mean, we think of Afro beats, we think of Amapiano, but here you are sitting in Zimbabwe and you don't fit in any of those two genres. As a Zimbabwean artist or any artist, how do you stay true to yourself? How do you present to the world a product that still remains you without you conforming to having to present your music as an Amapiano version of it, or your music as an Afro beats version, because that's what's trending? You want to be the next Burna Boy, you want to be the next Uncle Waffles or whatever. So it's those things that we're saying now. Okay, cool. You're gonna tour Netherlands. When you get on stage and they introduce, Walter Wanyanya all the way from Zimbabwe, what do you present that is uniquely you? What does Netherlands want? What does Switzerland want? What does the UK want? What does America want? There needs to be value that is the balance between you presenting Walter as this artist from Zimbabwe who is presenting his music and his identity, his heritage on a big stage in the UK, on a big stage in the States. Because the people in the States have never experienced you as you coming from Zimbabwe. There are so many hip-hop artists there. There's so many jazz artists there. There's so many, whatever, rock artists you can think of. They've seen it all. But if you now come as a Zimbabwean artist who is now playing rock, and you've abandoned your heritage, you've abandoned your identity, there's no value for that German festival. That why should they bring you from Zimbabwe to come and play rock in Germany? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no.
So it's now that balance where you communicate and you present your product, you present your yourself as yourself. And I think the world wants to see you because you're unique. I mean, there's so many copies out there. There's so many other things that look alike. But I think value comes, especially for creatives, value comes from uniqueness. And then so basically these are the things that we the backbone of the workshops.
Fantastic.
I don't know if that sounds long, man.
Yeah, no, but it sounds necessary.
Yeah, so I think for us that's what's gonna keep us relevant as African musicians, as African creative entrepreneurs. Us sticking to our identity and actually saying that, you know what, this is who I am. And I was working with an artist called Oliver Mtukudzi. He's world famous. He's one of, Africa's superstars. And the issue of language, I think, always comes into play, where a lot of Africans think that, they have to sing in either French, English, whatever language, so that they can relate to the rest of the world. But I have seen that the legends, the people that we regard as iconic as far as African music, really didn't sing in any languages other than their own language, their mother tongues. So this is something else as well, that we need to preserve language, we need to preserve heritage. There's need for us to be able to communicate in a common language, like what we're doing now.
Exactly.
We find a common language to communicate, and we find a common ground. The common language we're using now is English, but doesn't mean that I don't speak other languages and you speak another language.
Of course.
But the one we're using now is for means of communication.
Yeah.
In terms of us having, to understand each other. But when it comes to creativity and for you to feel my heart, you need to speak my language. And I also can speak my heart better if I speak in my language. You know what I mean?
I would even say
Yeah.
that I could, let's say, feel your heart more if you speak your own language and I wouldn't understand
And
it.
I wouldn't understand
Yes.
it. Exactly. Where the music is presented in such a way that you feel the music
Exactly.
rather than you hear and understand the music. There's if you can do both, that would be amazing. But then when music and art is presented in such a way that you feel it, you understand it, you hear it, and all that is there, it's amazing. But I think feeling it is more valuable than actually even understanding what someone is saying in words, because words are limited. But music presented pure, when it's pure, there's no need for you to even understand the words. Do you know what I mean?
And I have had so many times goosebumps in the last few days.
Where you feel like dancing, like crazy, or you feel like crying.
Dancing. Yeah. This music, and we talked about this a little bit before the podcast, exactly this.
Yeah.
Like it has this unique energy that makes me just want to dance. Sometimes they do something that just gives me goosebumps. And I don't even know. It's nice that sometimes before the show they say a few words about this is a song about birds or this is a song about this, and then you can have an idea.
Yeah.
But not even that is necessary.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we didn't talk about this before the podcast, but I do same thing that you just described. So I give a lot of workshops to musicians about how to build a sustainable business strategy, how to think like a business as a musician.
Yeah.
And I teach a course called How to Build a Brand with Purpose.
Yeah.
It needs to be authentic. And very important, that's number one. Then it has to be consistent.
Yeah.
Because if you do one thing today and then tomorrow you say something completely different, people are going to question your authenticity.
Exactly, yeah.
And then it has to be relatable.
Yeah.
But it has to first be authentic. I mean, that's my vision.
Yeah.
So I think we can agree on that.
No, that's very true. And I think consistency, being able to relate to someone else, that's what makes music reach a whole lot more people. And if people can't relate to you, then they hear you, they listen to your music, they're gonna walk away, they're like, that's not for me. What that means is they just don't relate.
Yeah.
You've said something that to them, they can't meet you halfway. They can't say, I understand it. And I hear you and I feel you, and wow, we are the same after all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if that is not there, that relatability is not there, then you lose it and you miss people. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I hope that you've been able to say, you know what, I relate to to the music that you've seen and heard so far.
I mean, you can just relate through it by participating in it, by moving to it, by being in it.
Yeah.
I made this podcast about the difference between hearing and listening.
Yeah.
This is the music that makes you listen.
Yeah.
It's not just coming through. It's like you actively want to, like, wow.
Yes.
Where's this going? Oh, rhythm changed again.
Yes, exactly.
Rhythm changed again.
Exactly, yeah.
Shakers come in.
Yeah. Drums come in.
Exactly. Fantastic.
I think, it's so true, because a lot of times music, if it's not relatable, it becomes background music. It's like you're sitting in the airport and there's just a sound that's just playing.
Yeah.
It's not making you sit up. It's not making you say, oh, wow, let me Shazam it, because it's just not there. It's just like whiny, whatever it is. But I think, as Zimbabweans, we've managed to stay true to our craft. We managed to stay true to our music. There are still a lot of influences from outside, but I think, when we look at all the music that we've managed to export and all the musicians that we look at and we say that these are our legends, these are our icons, even in Africa, are the artists that have stayed true to their sound, to their heritage, to their language, to everything that makes them, authentically whoever they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you see as the biggest opportunities that are arising currently in the industry?
Biggest opportunities. Wow, I could go on forever about that, because Africa is full of opportunities. And I think, funny enough, you ask about opportunities. I write every day. I wake up in the morning, and early in the morning, I wake up at 3. And that's when I'm the most...
Each day?
Each day. Every day I wake up at 3. And today I was actually writing about opportunities.
Nice.
And opportunities in the music business, I think, it's relative. It's up to you. And I'll just touch a bit on what I wrote about today, which was, when you want to buy a car, when you want to buy anything, when you think, okay, I'm a biker as well, by the way. So when you want to buy that new bike, and it's the latest Harley or whatever, and whatever model that is, and now you can afford it because you've either been saving up or now you got a job that allows you to buy that bike. What you do is, the minute you say, oh, I'm ready to buy this bike, the minute I'm ready to purchase this thing, the car, whatever it is that you want, a guitar, new mic, you all of a sudden start seeing that red or that blue bike or that red car. Everywhere you're driving around town, you're like, oh, dang, there it is again.
Yeah.
Everywhere. What it does is, it doesn't mean that there's all of a sudden an influx of that same model. It just means that in your head, you're now aware of what you want. You're now aware of what you said to yourself you're ready to get, and it's a reality. It's actually possible for you to buy this thing. Because that is the case now. Your mind is sensitive to seeing that thing daily. Those cars have always been there. Those bikes have always been there as you drive around town. But it's just that now you're just particular about that particular model, even if down to the color. I think what that is opportunity. You've actually unlocked your mind to, there's now an opportunity for you to acquire that thing. I don't know if that makes sense.
Of course.
It's a long way to answer your question. So, but that, I think, to me, that's what opportunity is. So I think opportunity is very personal. So when you think and you ask about opportunity in the music business, what is it that you're ready to do? What is it that you're ready to partake? What is it that you're ready and you're able to pay? And when I say pay, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about paying the price. You pay the price in time. You pay the price in educating yourself. What is it that you're ready to give off to get that?
Yeah.
And I think that's where the opportunity comes. So it's very, very, opportunities can be what they are to you because of what you need at that particular point in time. And you activate opportunity. Opportunities don't come to you. You bring them to you. They're always there.
It's a mindset.
It's a mindset. You know what I mean? And I'll give you an example about myself. I've been working in the music industry for obviously since I was in my 20s, like working when I actually consider it a job.
Yeah.
I'm ready for real estate. And we spoke about this when we got it. And I'm now having real estate problems, which the other problem I told you earlier on before we got on, on the podcast.
Yeah.
I have a real estate problem. And it's a good thing. It's a good problem because, like I said to you, the first thing that I said to you when I sat down here and I was like, I got a problem, bruh. And the problem has got to do with real estate. And I'm seeing it as an opportunity. So if you ask me personally, I would say Zimbabwe's biggest opportunity in the creative economy is entertainment real estate. Because that's where I am at. And that's what I am seeing. That's my red bike. My red car is entertainment real estate. And I think from where you come from, you would not think and say, I would love to build a venue. Why? Because they're always there and the venues are always there. You don't have an issue of venues. They've been built, you were born and there's already enough venues. There's venues for 500-seater, 1,000-seater, open air, within 100 kilometers, venue that's kitted with everything you need. You just walk in and plug in and off you go. That's not a problem in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
But in Africa, venues don't exist. Like the whole of Zimbabwe, 15, 20 million people, we don't have a single venue that's built, designed for entertainment. They're very small that are there, but they were built a long time ago. They're not up to standards and everything. But when you're thinking of doing big concerts, when you're thinking of doing big events, 10,000 people for Jacaranda, we really don't have a place where people can be accommodated, where we can build a stage with that will be able to do that. Hence, we have that problem. So,
you have that opportunity.
Exactly. That's it, my guy. So the problem is always an opportunity, and the opportunity is always going to be personal, depending on the person, depending where you're at in life, depending what your outlook. So you are probably seeing different opportunities than I am, and I'm probably blind to those opportunities. And if you tell me, Walter, have you thought about doing this and this and this and this and this? I'm like, no, I haven't. Why? Is because in my head, I'm not ready to take on that problem, which eventually is an opportunity. And I just haven't activated it. That's a very long way to answer the question.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful
But
way.
I hope that made sense.
Yeah, but it makes sense, and it also is kind of universal.
Yeah.
And the way you say it, it's just dependent on your situation, on your resources, on your current state of mind, but also the current state of the industry that you're in.
Yeah.
You just have to look around and look for what is a problem?
Yeah.
What is a challenge?
Uh-huh.
That's an opportunity.
That's an opportunity. Exactly.
And then all of a sudden you see red bikes everywhere.
Exactly.
It's like I go home and I see shakers everywhere.
Yeah.
And I have not
And
seen
drums.
shakers. Exactly. Yeah, I was going to ask you next, what is the biggest challenge then? But then same thing.
The biggest challenge for us, I think what I have faced is real estate.
Yeah.
And I think with real estate, everything else comes into play as far as Africa is concerned. You've been to South Africa, you were telling me before coming here, and I'm sure you can see the infrastructure is kind of different.
Mm-hmm.
South Africa is more concrete.
Yep.
Than here's more green. We've got a whole lot more space. And even when we build, we're still very much, I mean, you look outside the window right now.
Yeah.
It's big trees, it's green, it's nature. So
there's zebras here.
Yeah, and lions. Did you see that elephant walk past?
No, but there's really zebras here. I have not seen that.
I have.
Okay.
People think we're probably joking, right?
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, so I think as far as getting world standard venues are concerned, that for me, that is something that is exciting. And I would want that to happen so that there's ease of doing business and people can see the creative sector, can see music as part of the community other than a nuisance, which is, again, the problem that we were talking about earlier on. And I don't think the community that I'm in and the community that I'm working in is seeing the opportunity that comes from that business, and I don't see that they're seeing the value that comes from it, from the event and what is happening. And with that, then comes the point where you now have problems coming from other people, just for the fact that they actually don't understand what is going on. But if we had a built-up venue, soundproofed, what, and no one parks in front of your gate because they've gone into this concert, that kind of thing. You wouldn't have any issues, because anywhere in the world, if you go to a concert venue, there's underground parking 3 floors down into the ground, and then the venue is 3 floors up off the ground.
Yeah.
There's no issues with parking, or you're actually using public transport and that kind of thing. So there's no need for you to have lots of cars anyways. So these are problems. But the solutions to those problems are opportunities. So in my world, I'm like super excited because there's a business opportunity that has arisen.
How many years from now can I come and go to the venue here
and go to the Ngoma Nehosho arena? I think it's going to be very soon because the need is immediate. If you come back next year, maybe I'll have a piece of land. If you come back a couple of years after that, maybe I'll be halfway into construction.
Nice.
5 years, maybe, we could have a gig. And I don't know. We could be sitting in my office doing this podcast in a different way. Hopefully we can then press rewind and say, hey, we spoke about this, I know. So I kind of, for me, I'm gonna sound arrogant, but I kind of get what I want.
Yeah.
The minute I say that, you know what, I think I'm going to get this and I think I'm going to do this, the universe has spoiled me in that way. I always get what I want. So in this case, it's probably the biggest thing that I'm probably going to attempt to do, or, that is on the back of my mind. But I've done what I'm doing now used to be the biggest. It's a reality now, but I'm really certain that we're gonna see some big things happening, and thank God our partner that for the festival is a big financial house. It's a bank called Stanbic Bank, and they're into property. So so as we get through this problem together, hopefully we'll be able to find a solution together with them. Yeah,
exactly. And do you see that here in Zimbabwe specifically, that parties come together for these kind of thing? Is the government supporting of this? Are the financial institutions supporting of this? Do you see that happening?
Are the banks and government and private sector supporting the creative?
Well, let's say you want to do your venue. Is there
Yeah.
an opportunity that,
Yeah,
everyone gets behind it and sees the value in that?
I think the answer to that goes back to what we spoke about. For us as Ngoma Nehosho, for us as curators, festival directors, whatever, as businesses, because you've got us as the businesses that are either creating events, creating platforms for artists, right? And then you've got the artists themselves that are actually giving you the work and the product. What has happened for most of Africa and what has happened for Zimbabwe is that because what we do comes most of the times from it being just a hobby. And because it comes from it just being a hobby, people don't then transition from hobby to business, which is what we do the workshops for.
Yeah.
Because no one transitions, we carry on and we still do business as a hobby. Timekeeping is bad. Financial management is bad. Communication is bad. When you send an email, how quick do you respond? And how well do you respond? And how do you communicate? If you're a business, you have to be very good with your comms. You have to be very good with managing your money, all that kind of stuff. So us as artists, us as people that are in the creative economy, if we don't have anything that is in place that makes it good for the bank to work with us, that makes it good for government to work with us by giving us funding, by giving us opportunities, then we should not cry and say, hey, the government is not supporting us, yet we are not doing what it takes for us to be able to be good partners. Because we should not be asking for handouts. So we should have certain organizations that are there that get money from NGOs and everything because they're supporting kids and women in rural areas in a disadvantaged part of Zimbabwe or Africa. It's a different story altogether because you're now growing music and arts from the grassroots. But there comes a point where after you've nurtured that young kid that is in a disadvantaged area, they need to now be a business. They need to run whatever. They need to do what they're doing, what you've taught them from a young age as a business. And they need to be taught that when you're 25 and you're an artist and you're recording and you're performing, you're now a businessman. You just happen to be in the business of music.
Exactly.
And it's a business still. You need to now have certain things in place for you to have a bank that comes and says, hey, we identify you. We see your event. We see your space that you've built as something that we can come and support to enhance whatever it is you're doing. We're going to support that because we see that you've gathered 10,000 people that are target market to us.
Yeah.
How can we speak to those people while you're doing what you're doing? We don't want to dilute what you're doing, but we want to just come and benefit from the 10,000 people you've gathered. That's what sponsorship is. And that's what government support is, effectively. Government is in the business of people. So our job is to gather the people. We're musicians. We are the pipers, literally. We play the music, the people gather. We create paintings, people gather. We do anything creative. People gather around creativity.
Yes.
Once you've gathered people around creativity, you now have influence. Because you've got influence, the bank wants you because you are influencing the 10,000 customers. The politicians also want to talk to you because you're influencing 10,000 voters. But are you prepared for you to do business with these people? So to answer your question, I think a lot has to happen from our end before we start complaining and saying we're not getting the support. Are we prepared to receive the support? Are we prepared to sit down and talk to the CEO of a top bank, a blue chip company? Are we prepared to sit down and talk to the president? If I'm called today and the president wants to see me and talk about the creative sector, am I able to have the conversation with him? If I'm not, then why should government be throwing money at me? And I think that's what we need to do. Let's prepare for the conversation. Let's prepare for engagement. Then we can start saying, okay, so why then are they not talking to us? Why then is the bank not giving me funding? Why then is so and so not coming and wanting to work with me? Why are you coming from Netherlands and not interested in what I'm doing? If you're not interested in what I'm doing in Zimbabwe, it means there's something that I'm doing wrong. And you're going to be interested in another person and another person, and not me. The reason why you would talk to someone else, not me, is because I'm not ready to have a conversation with someone that's come from the UK, someone that's come from China, who is in the same space. And I think that you should always look inwardly before you start saying, can they do this for me? And can they do that for me? What it does is then it creates a community. It creates Africans that are just looking for handouts from NGOs, from foreigners, from government, from companies. These people don't owe anything to us. We owe it to ourselves to be ready to do what needs to be done in our space. Let's mind our own business. As we're minding our own business and as we're doing what we're supposed to do as creative entrepreneurs, then all these other people are going to find interest in us. They won't be able to ignore us.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes
so
total sense.
That's how I look at it. And I've never really gone into this and said, I'm going to do this because Stanbic Bank is going to come and support me. Government is going to come and support me. No, I've gone into this to do it, whether with them or without them. If they call me and they say they want to do something with me, great.
You're ready.
If they don't, it means that I'm not ready.
Yeah.
It means they don't see value. And I'm actually not going to find them. I'm not the one that's going to leave my office and pick up the call and say, hey, Mr. President, come and talk to me. Can you not see what I'm doing? Until you can't ignore me, he will have
That's
to
what
call
I was
me
going to say.
at some point.
So you create a situation where they
I'm
cannot
gonna-
go past you.
That's it.
They have to go through you.
I'm
or
lighting
with
that
you.
fire. It's a small little fire right now. We're warm and it's just the two of us, but it'll eventually be a bonfire where they can't ignore.
Yeah.
They will have to work with me because I've built value. And what happens as well is you don't get onto that table and you are the benefactor. You are the guy and you don't have a say. Do you get what I mean?
You're an equal partner.
You're equal partner.
Exactly.
You can actually also say, hey, yes, I understand what you want to do. I know what you want to reach the 10,000 people that are coming and listening to music. I know you want to reach the 10,000 artists that we are educating, but don't dilute what we're doing. Don't take away, don't water down the work that we've been doing for the past 10 years and 12 years because you're now giving us money. At the end of the day, your money is coming to enhance what we are doing already. So we've got the direction. We know where we're going. We know where we need an injection in money, but you can't take advantage of us and highlight your need higher than our need. It's a give and take. But if you don't know what you're doing and if you're not prepared, that's where then you're going to be diluted. And then it becomes a political festival and it becomes a commercial festival. And it's no longer about the music. It's no longer about the feelings that we spoke about. It's more about who's now giving you money. It shows on stage. It shows in the music. It shows in our speech. It shows in how we dress because now we are aligned to who's paying us. And hopefully we get to a point where we work in such a way that we don't compromise our creativity. We don't compromise who we are and what we're wanting to do based on the fact who's funding us.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
On that note, if people want to find you,
Yes.
they want to connect with you, do you post those things you write each morning or is it just for you?
Yeah, I do.
Where can they find
I
you?
do post. My name is Walter Wanyanya, and I'm Walter Wanyanya on all platforms. And Wanyanya is Wanyanya, and it's Walter.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, so that's my personal social media handles. And then obviously we've got Ngoma Nehosho, which is the company that I represent and founded. And then under Ngoma Nehosho, you'll be able to find the other properties that we have, the event properties, and also actually on my social media, you'll be able to be directed to the other pages as well. So yeah, that's probably the easiest way. Or get hold of you.
Also works.
Yeah.
As always, the last question.
The last question.
What is the power of music?
The power of music for me is communication. I think that's the biggest thing in my world and in my understanding. I can explain a little bit more on that. When I say communication, as we are talking right now, you're nodding your head. They can't see it, and obviously you say yes and nah, and that's communication. There's two people sitting here and we're having a discussion, and basically what this is music. It's a duet because I'm the lead instrument because I'm doing most of the nonsense talking, and you're
I'm just a side shaker.
You're the shaker. So as I'm talking and I'm playing all the riffs on the piano, you are just the drummer, just playing that kick is just and the hi-hat, and do you know what I mean? And I'm playing around on all, on the fretboard, I'm playing around on the keys and doing all sorts. But at the end of the day, there's communication going, and you are agreeing to what I'm saying by nodding your head. And it means that what I'm saying, obviously, you understand and it makes sense. So the power of music is if we can play music and we can communicate something, and if people can listen to our conversation, which is what we're having, this is music. If we were playing instruments, people would be listening to this and it's music. If we can't communicate that, and if people can't relate to the conversation, which is 5 people playing on a stage, 5 people playing their instruments, they're communicating something. If they can't communicate, it means that the drummer can't nod, the bass player can't play that note, the percussionist can't play whatever he needs to play. The communication between those 5 people, if it's an argument, then it's no longer a song. It's no longer a good song. People will be like, I don't know, man. I don't know what these guys are doing, but something is just amiss. They're nice, but it means that they are not communicating well together. The 5 of them on stage, if the communication is bad, then we don't have a good song. Then we don't have a good concert. Then we don't have a good duet. If we are not communicating well between the 2 of us, no one's going to listen to this podcast. They're going to be like, these 2 crazy guys are just talking nonsense. It doesn't make sense. So I think the power of music is in a musician being able to communicate well to whoever is going to eavesdrop. And it can be 10,000 people eavesdropping on a conversation. It can be 5 people. It can be 30 people. But whenever musicians get together and create music, they're basically wanting to say something. So if musicians can't get together and be able to communicate something that makes sense to whoever's going to listen to those songs, then it means that they have not managed to communicate well. So I think as musicians, let's think about having good conversations amongst us with our band members as a band. That communication is through vocals or through the instruments we play. And the conversation has to make sense. When the drummer is now going off and playing solos every 2 bars, then it means that it's too loud, it's too busy, no one is hearing what you're having to say. But just that hi-hat, continuously, you're backing what the guy on the saxophone is playing. He's saying the bulk of it, but he's just saying, go, my brother, go, go, go. With his hi-hat. I don't know if that makes sense. Oh, man. But yeah, in my head, that's what music is. And when we curate and when I choose artists for my festival, I'm trying to choose the best communicators. The guys that will come and say something. The guys that will come on stage and be able to have a conversation, and we listen in onto this conversation. We're like, damn, these guys were saying something nice. That's the power of music for me.
Can I ask one follow-up? I've never done this. Can I ask one follow-up question to this?
Go for it.
Do you think that I don't want to phrase it in a way that already the answer is in there, without my bias is in there, whatever. Do you think that you can be a musician if you have nothing to say?
I don't think so. I think you have to have something to say as a musician. If you're not even just a musician, as a creative.
Yeah.
If you've got nothing to say, then you're not a musician. Every musician has something to say. And it can be an instrumental. It can be a painting. It can be a sculpture. It's communication. All musicians and all creatives are communicators. And they are sometimes people that, like what we're saying now is using words. But some of the best musicians I've met or have listened to cannot use words. you cannot have conversations with most of these guys. Sit down with them, you try and talk to him, he can't express himself. Give him a guitar. Dang it.
Everything comes out.
He will tell you things you'd never heard of before, because his language is his instrument. Whether it's singing or playing drums, playing guitar, playing piano, or painting. You know, if you try and have a conversation with them with a language that he doesn't speak, if he does not speak guitar, but he speaks drums, then he's not going to say anything on a guitar, but he's a drummer. Do you get what I mean? It just basically means that you're trying to communicate with someone who doesn't speak the same language. And most musicians, we try and make them say things using words, but that's not the area. And we say, oh, you know, he really can't express himself. No, he can.
Just
but
listen.
Just listen and ask him to speak the language that he's comfortable to express himself. And if it's an instrument that he uses, give him that instrument and you'll be wowed. You know?
I think we cracked the code for me personally, why the music here is so different. Because I feel that everyone on the stage has something to say.
Yeah, man. Tonight you're going to have a good time again. I warned you.
I'm super excited. Thank you so much.
No problem, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right. Cheers, man.
Thank you very much for listening. If you want more information about JM or you would like to get involved, visit www.jmi.net. At JMI, we are on a mission to make the world more musical. That's why we created Mubazar, a digital platform that helps us manage all our musical activities across 80 countries worldwide, connecting musicians with opportunities to grow both personally and professionally. If you are a music professional looking for a better way to manage and promote your music activities, check out Mubazar. Created for music organizers, by music organizers, Mubazar allows you to run music competitions, workshops, camps, auditions, masterclasses, awards, events, and much more. Mubazar offers custom application forms, payments for your activities, jury tools, translations, analytics, and more. Mubazar is fast becoming the best place for musicians to find and apply for music opportunities online, and you can sign up today for a free organizer account by going to www.mubazar.com, registering, and then requesting to upgrade to an organizer on the right-hand menu. For more info, don't hesitate to get in touch via support@mubazar.com. It would mean a lot to us if you could give us 1 minute of your time and rate and review the podcast. In case you have any suggestions or would like to be one of our next guests, feel free to reach out to us through the JMI socials.